Hi guys, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Robbie Cassidy, and today we have Gary Daly on, and Gaz Gaelic Guide on Instagram. Gary, thanks a million for jumping on. How are you keeping?
I'm really good. Thanks a million for having me on.
Not at all. For those who don't know, do you want to give them a bit of an introduction into who you are, what you do, who you work with, what your focus on at the minute?
Yeah, so as you said there, Gary O'Daly, and online known as Gaz Gaelic Guide. I'm an online personal trainer, kind of mainly focusing in the GAA scene, as that's where my main interest is as well. And I also work with the general population. So I suppose the name kind of came around. I set up the Instagram page as it was a bit of a hobby at the start, and what happened initially was I had broke my hand and I was out of work, or I wasn't able to do my job. I used to work in my background is in biomedical science, so I was working in a chemistry lab, and I wasn't able to use all the instruments. I wasn't able to use pipettes, or if anyone knows what a chemistry lab is like, it's a lot of finicky little handheld objects, and I wasn't able to do that. So I was sitting at the desk all day, and I was like, right, I have to do something now to keep myself occupied or go off the head. And after a couple of weeks then, I was able to go back to the gym. I was able to use straps and everything was fine. I was able to go back to playing football, but I was not able to work in the lab just because the handheld objects are so finicky, and that was just still causing me pain in my hand. So I was at a desk doing a desk-based job, which was a 75% lab-based job. So I was going off my head. It's like, right, I have to make up something here to keep me occupied. So I was like, right, I'm eating this way anyway. I'm training this way anyway. Why not just start a page? Like, look, there's loads of pages out there already, but this just gives me something to do in my spare time now. And I kind of went with the name Gaz Gaelic Guide because there's so many, Gary O'Daly PT or Gary O'Daly Fitness out there at this stage. Like, I want to do something different. As like the name isn't the same as everyone else. And I always appreciate alliteration. So I said Gaz Gaelic Guide, 3 G's kind of rolls off the tongue as well. So that's how I kind of started off. Putting up stuff like that. And I said, look, a worst case scenario, people say, oh, you're a bollocks, and what are you doing that for? And I go back to my normal day-to-day job and I forget about it. But it got good enough traction. Obviously, started off with friends and family looking at it and say, oh, thanks for that. And, people might message you and like, oh, can you do a workout for legs, or what do you do for chest or whatever like that. So start putting up what I did on a day-to-day. And slowly but surely, the following started coming there. I think it's a different kind of style of training that people might have seen before, maybe not in the kind of in-season, off-season. Maybe they're used to seeing one particular style of training the whole year round. And I try to do as much ball work and much skill work on the pitch as well, because I think that's an area, especially on Instagram and on TikTok and stuff like that, there's very little kind of skills work and stuff like that. It's all gym work, it's all nutrition. That I think everyone has kind of covered that in some way, shape, or form. So it's like, right, okay, doing the actual skills, doing what you do on the pitch, I think it's very important to kind of nail that down as well, especially for the younger population, that you can go to the gym and you can eat right and do everything that's right, but on the pitch you still have to be able to hook the ball over the bar or kick the ball over the bar and work on your skills as well. So that's an area as much as I can, I try to get a lot of information up about that as well. And I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form I'm the best footballer out there. I'm a good footballer, but I kind of want to come up with drills and stuff I do myself. Like I'm 27 now, and I'm always still trying to improve my skills and improve my footballing ability as well. So I think that's important for any athlete as well, whether what sport you play, whether it's Gaelic, hurling, soccer, rugby, hockey, whatever you can play. You always kind of be working on the skills. At the end of the day, like the skills pay the bills, as they say. You can do everything you can in your power to make your performance better with the gym work and nutrition and sleep and everything like that. But at the end of the day, the sport, I think, is the main thing, is to be able to practice that. So a long answer short, Robbie. That's where that's what I do. And online, I'm posting a lot of relevant information about GAA, whether it's the gym or nutrition or sleep or recovery and skills work as well.
Excellent. Yeah, it actually was I have to say, when I saw the page first, it really stuck out to me. I think one of the first things that I saw was like a starter pack, or it was like what to take to game day. I think it was something like that. It was like 2 pairs of socks and you had shorts and everything. And it definitely straight away resonated with me. I was like, I'm going to have to save this post because I'm going to come back to this again. There was some really good, simple ideas there about, right, this is when it comes to game day, this is what you need to bring and this is what you need to figure out. And it just makes it so much easier. So I think that's why it got traction so fast, is that you just had simple tips that GAA players, you may have kind of had a small bit of a general idea around it, but having it laid out on paper just makes it that much easier. It makes it that much easier to pick up on it. And then, as you were saying then as well, the skill stuff, the different moves that you do, the different drills that you can do, I thought that was a great idea. And I really picked up on that, sent it to a few of the lads, I said, I'd look at this. Thought that even though like you could say like a lot of the time people get stuck in that they have to either do drills with a team, they have to go down with their football team and they have to have 15 lads down to training to do drills. But really you need 2 lads two balls, or three lads into two balls, or whatever. You don't need that much to get things done. And I thought that was another big highlight of the page, that it was just yourself and another fella maybe kicking in ball and popping over the bar, and I think it just stands out. It really does resonate with I guess every age group of lads that play and ladies that play. So I think that was a huge thing. Now, when I went searching through the page and looking through your stuff, I spotted this. It was on the Underdogs. Am I right in saying that? Was it TG Carr that ran that?
TG Carr, the Underdogs.
What was the deal with that, or what was that exactly now?
So the Underdogs, if anyone who isn't familiar with it, it's a group of players, club players who've never played inter-county championship. And the idea is they all get together and make this one team and they play against a county team. Now, they did this years ago. I think they did it in 2003. And they played against Dublin. I think that wasn't as well known. And then they did it again in 2004, where they played Kerry. And Kieran Donaghy was on that team, and Pearson O'Neill from Cork were the two big names that came from that. And they bet Kerry on that day back in 2004. And I think they did a couple of more seasons then. I think they did ladies football, they might have Camogie. But it kind of just died away then. Just the way things went, the traction fell off, the interest was lost. And so they brought it back then in 2018. And I only randomly came across it. As I say, you know yourself when you're sitting on the toilet or scrolling through your phone. I seen this entry form. I think it was on Facebook or Joe.ie or Balsley. One of those pages were sharing it. I was like, oh, are you the underdog, or do you want to be this underdog? And I was like, oh, geez, that's back. That's class. We need to have a look at it anyway. And I was going through the form and everything like that. And I was like, oh, there's simple enough asking questions, and there's going to be trials then or whatever. And I was like, oh, fuck it, yeah, I'll go to do it. Then on the last step, I nearly chickened out of it. On the very last step, it's like, record a 30-second video saying why you're the underdog. And I was like, I am not doing that. Fuck that. I am not doing this. But after spending about 10 minutes answering all these questions on your club, on your date of birth and all this shit, it's like, right, okay, I'll do it. And I was like, this is way before I was big on Instagram, and I was doing my own stories and everything like that. So I'm not used to talking in front of the camera. So I did this. I'd say I sound like a robot. And I was like, oh, I want to play football. I want to play for the G. I was like, this nonsense. Like, right, okay, that's that done anyway. Forget about it. You know, we'll go to the whole thing, play St. Bridget's from Roscommon, which is a team that I probably never would have got to play the first team from. So I'm from Roscommon myself, from North Roscommon. But at the time that I was doing the Underdogs, I was playing in Carrick and Shannon in Leitrim. I made a transfer a couple of years before that. It was in 2016. I made a transfer. I played for there, and I'm back home at the home club now. So during this whole time, I was playing in Leitrim as well. And the only regret I have with the whole Underdogs thing, at this time, you know, I had notions that I was going to get on the Leitrim senior team, and I wanted to make a good impression. So I unfortunately on TV said I was from Leitrim, and I got quite a bit of slagging for that now since that. Yeah, and it's probably the only regret I have on the whole thing is saying I'm from Leitrim. Easily could have said it from Roscommon, but look, at the time I wanted to make it onto the Leitrim team, so I said a couple of things that I'm not particularly proud of now. But the whole thing was that it was like you go around the weekend, you play these camps and that, but it was fantastic. Like, it was probably the best experience I've had playing football. And the best crack we had was probably stuff that wasn't even on camera. You know, it's just the kind of crack you have messing around before and after trainings, and you're getting food, and you're in the state. Like, we're staying in the like when we were in Athlone, we were staying in the student accommodation because it was in the middle of July. And after we played St. Bridget's, it's like on a Tuesday night, I said there was a pub just down the road from us. So like, oh, should we just go in for one or two, just, you know, see what the crack is after the game? Because the next day was going to be doing something like yoga, or doing something like a gym session, or like, it wasn't anything mental, like we didn't have no trains or anything like that. I'm sure the barman stood up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and we were there all night drinking this. They were all on the camera the next day and all red-eyed and everything like that. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you remember from it. Like, that's going to be on TV. Then going through the camps, and obviously I won't go through every camp and everything that happened, but that was the process then. So you go through the camps, you play games, you play a game each week. So we played the likes of the Defence Forces, we played St. Bridget's, we played Newbridge up in, or it was like a Kildare team up in Kildare. We went down to Kerry, played a team down there. Played UCD in a game, we played a team in Meath, and then like in each game then, like, there was a bottom three, so 3 people were up for nomination, and then after the game then the coaches decide who's going to go home, and someone gets to go home. So unfortunately one of the weeks I was up for nomination as well. That was it. We're playing Wolf Tones and Meath, and then during that game then I scored 2 goals. So when the pressure was put on, I was able to deliver, thankfully enough. And got through that then, and then we went on to play Dublin. And I think the least said about the Dublin game, the better. We got absolutely hammered in it. I think we only scored 1-3 or 1-4 or something. But look, at that stage, like, as funny as it sounds, like, we all thought we were going to put it up to Dublin, and we all thought we were going to have this magical game. We are going to be the ones to beat Dublin. But like, they had, I think it was 12 lads who were eligible to play for the Underdogs on their team. Like, they were using it as a trial game, and like, them lads were so hungry and wanted to prove a point. Like, they didn't give a shite that we were on telly or what we were about.
Yeah.
There was a couple of lads who were on. I think Owen Merchant was started. Johnny Cooper played. Michael Fitzsimons played. I think Andy Bunyan, I'm not sure if he had a championship appearance, not he was in goals, he played the league. And like, after that, then it was all trialists and stuff. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong in saying this, I think Sean Buckler, who's gone on to play a good bit now for the seniors, I think he might have been playing that day. I might be wrong saying that, but I have a feeling that he was playing that day as well. So that's just before he kind of jumped onto the scene. But again, the whole experience is brilliant. Like, and it was the crack we had, and like, we training off camera and stuff, and even stuff on camera, like, it's stuff you'll never forget. And at least the main thing is it's there as well. So if everyone to look back on it, and like, I think the video you might have been referring to was when Paul Galvin had a go at me, or it was.
That's I was going to ask. What did you learn from him, or what did you pick up off of those type of lads?
Yeah, loads. Like, if it's just small little things like that. That one was on camera, and like, I was only saying because I was going home for championship the next day, so I literally was only going over to say, "Oh, I'm going home this evening. I'll be back up tomorrow evening." And then Ray and Paul like, "Oh yeah, we want to talk to you." So like, you're drained. You're absolutely drained, and then you're told you're starting in the game then the next day. And sure, I couldn't get going at all. I was stiff as a board. I was sore. I was tired. And Joe, I wasn't interested because I was just so tired. I was like, what am I fucking doing here? So then that was leading on to why Paul Galvin pulled me aside. Then he was like, "Oh, you're getting pushed around off the ball," and he was like, "Do you remember when your man was pushing you?" And I was like, "I don't." I was like, "I actually cannot remember what you're on about." And anyways, he's going through that. I was like, "That's at the time, like, everyone's the same boat." I'm not saying it was just me that this happened to. Everyone was in the same boat, and I felt that I was burning the candle at both ends because I was trying to do the gym work, I was trying to do the club training, I was trying to do the Underdogs training, you're doing games, you do this, that, and the other, and I was doing too much for myself. Looking back on it now, I was probably training 8 or 9 times across 6 days, and I was like, way too much. Like, if I could go back and tell myself, I think I'd shake myself and say, why are you going to the gym 4 days a week, training twice at your club, and then doing a game or the Underdogs at the weekend then as well? It's like, you're doing too much 2 days a week. It's like, again, that's just, you learn as you grow older, like the ways to train and that. And even like something as small as we got weighed in and did a body fat percentage scale on our first thing in Athlone, and then our last week we went back to Athlone again. And I was like, I know it's not the most accurate thing, but the body calipers, the one with the pull in your skin and grab it. Yeah, I was something like 4.9% body fat off that, and I was 78 kilos or 78.3 or something like that. I was like, right, okay, no, I'm going to eat like fuck, I've loads of calories to have. And that was over the space of 3 months. I would say I was horsing nearly 4,000 calories down a day, give or take. I was like, I must have put on about a kilo or 2 here now. Body fat percentage was 5, and I put on 0.3 of a kilo over the space of 3 months, and that was because I was trying to put on weight. I wasn't able to put on weight because I was training too much. As I look back on it now, that was probably the biggest wrong I was doing. I was just doing too much. I was burning the candle at both ends, and like, there was a stage then when I was in the bottom 3. Then I was like, drop me. I don't care at this stage. I'm so tired.
You lost interest in it, like from. But it's such a common thing with GAA players, in that you'll see it all the time that lads, they try to fit too much in season. They're trying to get in 3 gym sessions. They're trying to maybe get a running session because they're not fit enough. Then they're also going to a training session. After the training session, they're staying around to kick ball. And then they might go for like a swim or something like that. Or, it's crazy how some lads are training, as you said, they're burning the candle from both ends, and that you're just going nonstop, but you're not thinking that, okay, I need to give this a second here. I need to pull back just for a small while. And I need to like give the body a chance to recover from the stress you've put on it. And if you do that, like, the gains that you can make, it's the same as the gym. If you're just planning on gymming 7 days a week for the next 3 months, great, you'll make some gains. But if you gym for let's say you're 6 weeks on, take a week off, 8 weeks on, take a week off, that's where you'll make the real gains. And that week off is when you'll really, really notice it. And it's the same performance. Lads wonder why they get injured before championship, and it's because they've been pushing. You're pushing, and then you're just not giving it a chance to recover. Anyone that I'm working with, I always say to them, like, come around championship time, I'm always looking at, once obviously they have their place secured, maybe taking a training session off, or maybe doing a bit less in a training session to just give them a bit more of an edge for the next training, the most important one, as opposed to having them training on a Tuesday night, a Friday night, a Sunday morning, and then on the Sunday morning they might go for runs then after that, because they're trying to get that extra bit in. It's too common, I think. It's a lot of the lads that come to me are just, it's chronic overuse injuries is what they're getting. So I suppose going on from that, or looking at the next thing, what type of like what type of injuries have you struggled with when you were playing? I know you said you had a broken hand there for a while. Is there any injuries that you picked up in the last season or the season before that or anything like that that you can relate back to and you say, geez, this is why it happened, or this is why I feel it happened?
I've been lucky enough. I've got no muscular injuries since 2016. So I did my cruciate in 2016. Yeah, touch wood is right. I did my cruciate in 2016. My PCL, so the ACL is the most common. I did my PCL. There's a hyperextension. I landed. I got pushed in the back when I was up for a ball. When I landed, the force dropped me forward. Looking back on it, though, if I was bigger and stronger at the time, might have been the case that it didn't happen. But looking back on it, the fact it happened was a reason why I got onto a plan with Brian Keane Fitness. I work for Brian Keane as well. I got onto his plan, and it opened up my eyes to a different style of training, because I was doing bodybuilding workouts. I was doing all the wrong things. I don't know what I was doing. Before that, I had a history of weak hamstrings. I could not for the life of me understand why my hamstrings weren't growing. Like when I came up through the Roscommon development panels, and we were shown, I got nothing that was against them, because everyone was learning at the time, but the one day we were shown how to work our hamstrings was on a lying leg curl machine or a seated leg curl machine. We weren't shown any alternatives to this. So I was in college in Sligo at the time, so they had the leg curl machine, that was fine. Then over Christmas, like after 4 weeks you're off over Christmas or whatever, between exams and everything, I was in a club gym with a couple of lads, and it didn't have a lying leg curl machine or a seated leg curl machine. I was like, oh, I can't train my hamstrings here, so I just didn't do them. Like I didn't know there was alternatives. I didn't know about RDLs. I didn't know what stiff leg deadlifts. I didn't know about Nordic curls or any glute ham bridges, anything like that, just because we weren't shown. So I was 17 going on 18, and like it's easy to look back and say, how didn't you know when you know everything, when you know all the exercises now? Like if you don't know, you don't know. Like, and we weren't shown any other way. Like again, I easily could have looked up, went on Google, YouTube, and say how different ways to train hamstrings. But like, at that stage as well, you're only going to the gym maybe twice a week, and it's like you're not too worried about it. Like at that age as well, 17, you want to be a big chest and you want big arms. Like, and that's what we're focusing on. Like that's called a spade, and you're that age. You're not worried about how big your hamstrings are. So I had a history of weak hamstrings. I think I pulled them 3 times that year. Came back early twice, because I wanted to be. I was on the minors at that stage then, and then I ended up getting dropped in the minor panel because my injuries had caught up with me. And by the time then we're coming into championship, I was a mile off the pace. I wasn't never going to start in that team anyway. Maybe made a panel, maybe made a subs bench if I had a really good year. But like the players who were there were better than me. I'm just as good, if not better than me. And like, argument for whether to make a sub bench or make a panel or not, definitely wasn't going to start. There's no question about that. But at this stage of the year, my fitness is way off. I've been out for so long, missing a couple of games. So looking back on it now, there's no reason. I've no arguments why I got dropped. But at the time, it was like, oh, they only dropped me because I'm from a weak club, or making excuses anyway. But leading on from that, then going back to the club and everything, again, picked up another couple of injuries. Just so I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't doing the right exercise at the right times of the year. I didn't know the difference in off season, in season, and that. And I really started noticing that in the last couple of years. The hamstrings was one. So when I did my cruciate, then I had just come back from a hamstring injury. So then when I got on a plan and I did my cruciate, like number 1 goal is get the knee back right. Number 2 goal is get my hamstrings right. And that's something that I always focus on, even in season, off season, no matter what time of year it is. My hamstrings, I always work on strengthening them. I know there's a lot of kind of ballistic side movements you can do, or like then tantrum kicks, or tantrum kicks with bands or that. I tend to just stay away from them for myself, because I know that if I put that too much load on when doing the running, I can feel them pulling a bit. So I focus solely on strengthening them in season, and the off season, then I put a bit more volume on building them. That's just the way I find works really well for me. Maybe in the off season now is the time I can play around with those new exercises like the tantrum kicks or, the ballistic style training. But I'm sticking to what I know. And in season, I think it's so important that when it comes to in-season training, especially in championship training, that you know what training you're doing. You're not trying something new. You're not trying a new fancy workout you see someone do. You're not trying a new exercise you see someone put up on Instagram or TikTok. It should be, everything is laid out. Like in-season is the most boring time of year for training, because you know exactly what you're doing. You're in and out in less than an hour. Like the intensity of the training, like it might be high power output, but you're not sore. Obviously you don't want to be sore around the gym, but you're not like putting that effort in where you're feeling like your muscles growing, you're feeling everything working. It's a little bit boring. Like your RPE is down to like maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10 instead of an 8 or 9 as you normally would do in the off season. But you have to think of the bigger picture here. Like this is helping me injury prevention and helping my performance. And a lot of the time, injury prevention work and performance work isn't the most exciting to do. Lots of rest time, maybe short, low reps, low sets, with a big rest time. But again, that should be it should be regimen at that stage in season. Off season is a great time to play around with stuff.
Yeah.
But just go back to the question then with injuries. Last year and the year before, I sprained my ankle. Again, we were just a free thing, going up for a high ball. When I was coming down on the ground, someone's leg was underneath me, and by the time I hit the ground, my foot was already in an out position, and I rolled it, and it just sprained it. But not much I could do about that. But coming off that, then I found I'm doing lots of plyometrics. So I don't want to be giving advice here. If you have an injury, get into physio and make sure everything's right. Follow a rehab plan. That's the most important thing. That's what I didn't do when I was younger. I was saying that I came back too early on the minors. My hamstring kept growing. I didn't follow a plan. I was like, oh, I feel fine. I'm going to go back now. Whereas the physio might have said, here's a 3-week block of work for you to do. And then go when you're free, like you got through that, then go back to training. I might have done 2 weeks of that. Like, oh, yeah, perfect. I'm at A1 straight back into sprints, and it goes again. It's like, oh, why is that going again? It's like, because you haven't followed the plan. And that's it's simple. Like again, looking back on it, but try and tell a 17, 18-year-old not to do something they're going to do. Like, you want to go back and play as soon as they can.
That's it, exactly. And when you look at the hamstring as well, like hamstring injuries in general, when you isolate a person, if you like, they are very preventable. In a way, okay, in that, like, there is, as you were saying there, the lying hamstring curl, great exercise for building hype, like for actually building muscle size or building muscle bulk. But when it comes to, like, there's, I suppose, to kind of reverse and go back and look at it in a different way. When you look at bodybuilders are excellent at isolating the muscle, and they're excellent, really, really good at just working on that bicep, or really, really good at just working on your quads or your hamstrings or whatever it is. They're very good at isolating a muscle or a group of muscles, but they're not very good at coordinating muscles together and have the muscles coordinate so that that you can move through, let's say, a side step, you can land from a jump comfortably, you can take a hit from a fella and stay going. They're not good at that because that's not what they've trained. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on. I think that's why when you're talking about actually working on skills as well on the pitch, that's the most important thing when it comes to injury prevention, is being able to handle your own body weight. You obviously have to build a good bit of strength in the gym, but just isolating muscles and just doing, let's say, bicep curls or lying hamstring curls, stuff like that, isn't exactly going to prevent injury. You need to look at, I would recommend compound movements, your squats, as you were saying, your RDLs, your stiff leg deadlifts, anything like that, bench press, like just normal deadlift, conventional deadlift, I should say. All of those are going to help you a bit more because they coordinate a lot of muscles together at the same time. You're trying to work a lot of different muscles. And then when you're doing that, if you're really looking at injury prevention, you have to mix it onto the pitch as well. I feel you have to get guys so that, okay, right, you're training here, you need to get back onto the pitch. At the end of a session, I want you to practice a couple of cuts. I want you to practice standing from a jump. I want you to practice taking a couple of hits in the training session. All right. Then I think you need to look at load. And that's what people really miss out on. Is you can do, as you were saying there, like you can do all these different hamstring exercises. You could even follow a physio's plan to a T and do everything that's on the plan. But if you go back and you start burning the candle from both ends and you start training 6 days a week, it doesn't matter one shite what you've done in the past to that. It really doesn't. It's just going to go. The weak points are going to break down once the body starts to fatigue. And I think that's a thing that players, especially younger players, need to get an understanding of, is obviously work on your compounds and work on your strength and work on your on building muscle and building strength. But if you're not practicing the skills on the pitch, and then if you're not watching your training load in season, it doesn't make a difference what prehab exercises you do or what injury prevention exercises you do. And I like that what you were saying there with the ankle rehab as well. I know you were saying follow your plan and that, and it's definitely right, you should, but there's a lot of stuff people can do to prevent ankle injuries. And as you were just saying there, jumps, hops, like skipping, anything like that, plyometrics, low level, it's one of the best ways of doing it. What other stuff were you doing, even yourself, when you were thinking about it? What other stuff were you trying to do for the ankle to get it right again?
I actually have a wobble board. I think I seen an Aldi or Lidl years ago, and I kind of got it, never used it. Split my ankle before, so I've split my ankle a couple of times over the years. Again, just from falling or playing football and that. But I found the wobble board is really good, and just kind of get that stability into it. And again, it's not a case that you're doing 3 sets of 10 on it and going. Like, you might stand on it for a while, be watching telly, be doing something on your phone or something like that, try and distract yourself, or have a ball thrown against the wall. I found that really good. That was the main one. I found the jumps definitely were kind of getting that load into it and getting that shock absorption when you're landing, and then rebounding again is what really worked. And like that, like anything, and again, like this, I think is very important with any injuries. just because you see an exercise that's going to be good for rehab your injury, there's a difference between pain and finding something a little bit sore or uncomfortable. If anything is ever like a pain and it's sore and it's not right, obviously straight away stop doing it. Don't keep going through it. And that could be the same even if you're doing a bench press or a push up or anything like that. If something is actually physically hurting you to a point that's not right, stop doing it. There's a difference between being uncomfortable and being like, okay, this is getting sore, it's getting hard, and the difference to a pain. So again, just go back to the ankle. If anything came to a stage like this, okay, this is sore now, I'll stop and kind of bring it back and regress a bit then. So maybe bring the height of a jump down a little bit lower, or maybe don't put as much effort into the jump, but I'm still getting the benefits of building up the ligaments and tendons here. I think that's very important as well with any kind of, especially impact injuries. It's not like muscular where it's easy to see what's sore, what's not. Impact injury, something might hurt you at all, and all of a sudden you go a little bit harder and oh shit, okay, now that's sore now, I need to stop there.
Yeah. I think what you were saying there, there's definitely a point that there's definitely a point of pain where if it gets too serious, you should pull back, because you obviously don't want to injure yourself too much. And see, the thing is, it's difficult to do it on a podcast because you're not talking to the individual, and people will take it way differently. Everyone will take it small bit different. But there is times, and coming from a rehab perspective, there is times, and it really depends, because the majority of people that I deal with have long-term injuries. Like they have obviously different ankle sprains and hamstring stuff like that, but it's usually long-term stuff, like back pain or knee pain or stuff. And in those situations, sometimes you actually have to look at, okay, well, the body's kicking back here for a reason, but it might be kicking back because that sensitivity is just really high, or you have an area that might be just extremely sensitive to any type of movement at all because it's been injured over and over again. And in those situations, it's actually interesting. You do have to work into pain a small bit. You have to kind of get a better understanding of when it is, what's the right level to work into, as opposed to just let's go hell for leather here now and re-injure yourself, as you were saying there, like just doing too much. So yeah, no, I think what you were saying there is all excellent with the ankle thing. I think another thing that people need to include a small bit more is actually skipping with a skipping rope. It's so underestimated, and there's so much performance benefit to it. Even with, like, it's a low level plyometric, it improves your power output, improves your acceleration, joint stability, loads of stuff like that. And it's such a simple thing to do. It's actually pretty enjoyable as well if you've done it for long enough. But that'd be something that I'd be trying to include in off-season programs and pre-season programs. And I was chatting to you at the start just to see what stuff you were doing at the moment. I know you were taking on a lot of guys for off-season training. What type of work are you doing yourself in the off-season in the gym?
So I'm actually been playing around in the gym the last couple of weeks. So as I was saying, that my in-season is so regimented and everything is the exact same every week. It's like, right, I'm going to just play around for a couple of weeks now, and I'm just all these fancy machines in the gym that I don't use in season. It's like I want to play on all these now in the off season, because look, you have to just take a break from it. I think that's very important as well. I know when you lose a championship game or you're out of championship, it's easy to say either feck everything, I'm not going to look at anything again until January, or the next week get straight back into a plan and not actually have any downtime or anything to play around with. I think there's a week or two kind of buffer period where you kind of play around with stuff, maybe take a break altogether, maybe do different workouts, maybe play soccer, or do whatever else you want to do. So that's what I'm doing with this like last 2 weeks or so. I'm playing with all these bodybuilding machines because, like, look, I want to just kind of play around with them. I want a different kind of exercises, see how the muscles is feeling. So low rest time, higher reps. And I kind of messed around with stuff. And last week then on Friday, I actually did it was nearly a CrossFit style workout. I know a lot of people shit on CrossFit, but there is some really good workouts that you can do with that as well. So I started off with a heavy trap bar deadlift, and I followed by a barbell complex. So just a simple one, a deadlift, power clean, and a front squat. I was every minute on the minute, and I did 12 minutes of that. Then I finished up then with some split squats for my sins. And we're just playing around with stuff. I split squats in the assault bike, or I call them a necessary evil. Like they're the worst exercise in the world to do, but I get so much benefit from them, so I just put them in. It's one of those things you just have to not think about it, get through them, get them done. But like my main goal now, I think I'm happy enough with my size, and that I think maybe try and shed a couple of pounds if I can. If I don't, I'm not too worried about it. But I have a couple of strength goals I want to hit, and again, there's no particular number of people you have to hit in the gym. I think again, with younger lads especially, to want to be able to say, oh, I can bench this, or I can lift that, and oh, is lifting this at this age a good sign? Like, don't worry about the number. Like, everyone is going to have different relative strength compared to their height, size, training age, and everything like that. So kind of work towards, like, I know people say for bench press, the elite gold standard is 1.5 times your body weight for squat, 2 times your body weight for squat, and 2.5 times your body weight for a deadlift. That's going to be completely different for everyone else, and that does not mean if you can't hit that you're not you're not good or anything like that. That's the elite, that's the top level gold standard. Like, so if you're constantly working towards that, you're going to be on a good route. And if you hit that number, okay, just keep going. Like, no doubt, if you do hit that number, you're going to be putting on muscle, putting on size. You might be a little bit heavier, so that number might change again. So you're always, it's like chasing a rainbow. You're always trying to catch it. You're always working towards it, running towards it. Like, you rarely will ever hit it. And I find myself working towards those numbers. By the time I'm really close to hitting some of them, it comes back to in-season training. So my training goes back again, and it completely changes. And by the time in the off season again, my strength has gone down, so I'm building back towards it again. And I enjoy it. I know some people might enjoy it. I know a lot of people are very goal driven and want to hit certain things. But I'm working towards certain numbers. I actually hit my PB on bench. It was a 1.5 times my body weight on a bench, and that's something I've been working towards for 18 months. So that's not something that, it's easy to look at an Instagram video and look at a couple of workouts and say, oh, that happened over 2 weeks or whatever. Like, I've been working towards that bench. It was a 120 kilo bench press. I've been working towards that, I say, for 18 months. Like, that was building up slow reps, like a 3x3, 4x3, 5x3, 5x4, 5x5, working all these reps and sets for months. It didn't just happen overnight. I'm working towards the same with my squat and my deadlift. My squat is way behind. Like, my bench is close to my squat, and my squat is close to my deadlift. My squat is just not something that I focus on, because I don't find I get the benefit for it on the pitch. So I only really work it in the off season. Whereas in season, I find bench works well for me just for upper body power, and deadlift I find really well for lower body power and explosiveness and stuff. So my squat is, that's going to be my main thing in the off season. I work towards a heavier squat, but my main goal at the moment is working towards a 200 kilo trap bar deadlift. And again, if I don't hit it, so be it. I go again like that, 18 months, nearly 2 years working towards this target. And like that, when I do hit it, it's going to be a new target then. It's not a case I hit that, well, what do I do now? And so I think it's really important with training and having goals, and whether it's football or anywhere in life, having a plan after a goal. And just kind of come back to the underdogs as well. It's something that I probably haven't touched on a lot. I haven't spoken a lot online anyway. When we finished that game, like this process went from May to October, and the whole thing was to play this game against Dublin, and it was our lives. And as I was saying, I was training my whole life, all week was towards underdogs and club football and that. So the week before the underdog game, we lost semi-final in club football. So club was over, so I had another week then underdogs. And when the game was over, I had this overwhelming sense of I was just lost. I was like, oh fuck, what do I do now? Because it wasn't like a club. It's like, okay, we meet up again now in January and we go at it again and play again. Like, this was a once-off team, so it stops. And once that game is over, that's it. That team is done. Like, we're not going to play together again. And it was this kind of overwhelming sense of, like, I remember standing on the pitch in Parnell Park, and like everyone's friends and family were coming onto the pitch, and everyone was standing around and congratulating and everything like that. And I remember just like obviously looking for my family and that, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I have no plan B now. What am I going to do? Not going to go. Obviously, you've got to go back training, go back to the club the next year. But when you put so much effort into this thing, I hadn't even thought about what's my next plan after this, so I don't have nothing, or I don't feel underwhelmed, or I don't feel unmotivated. I didn't plan that at all, and it was such a surreal feeling. Like, it was obviously a fantastic moment, and the game when it was finished and everything like that. But like, it was just that moment of, what am I going to do now? And I never felt as lost on a football pitch in my life. And just looking back, that was probably the moment then that I wanted to go back to my home club. Then I transferred back then the following March after that. And it was just a case of seeing all these clubs and this massive gathering of people, clubs for this player, for someone who's representing their club. And there was a couple of people there from the club in Carrick who work in Dublin, and I really appreciate them showing up. But I was thinking, like, I'm after coming on. I know that all these thoughts coming in then saying, oh, I'm after staying in from Leitrim, and look, how does that make me look to the home club? And how does that make me look to all these people who brought me up training through the years, for me to shit in it, saying basically, oh, I'm not from Carrick or Shannon, from Leitrim now, I'm not from Roscommon, all that kind of stuff. And it's mad. Like, it was all a couple of minutes to stand there, and all this is going through your head. I was like, again, I had the plan after I hit this goal. And I like that. That goes for anyone who's working training wise. That just say you're looking for a body composition goal and you want to hit 5% body fat or whatever it is, have a next goal. Don't be like, right, I've hit that.
And then what do I do? Like,
that's something that it's hard to explain. And it was such an overwhelming sense of, this is supposed to be the really happiest moment here. Everything's done. And it was kind of all it was working towards this. And then I was like, oh shit. Like, that week after, like, I wasn't myself, and I was going on holidays to America afterwards. And it was the best thing. If I didn't have that holiday to look forward to, I don't know what way I kind of would have plan myself and stuff, because we got out of the country altogether, completely experiencing new things altogether. Like you're walking around New York and Philadelphia, and eating shite and eating all the takeaways and all that kind of stuff. And like, it was the best thing that I could have done, and it's just the way we had a holiday planned. But if I hadn't that planned in, like that week, I don't know what was going on. Like I was going to the gym and back, and I was so demotivated. And I was so like I didn't feel like myself, and that was just because not having a goal. I'm putting all this effort in, it happening, and then just not having a set goal for the next thing. So like that, when you're hitting goals with us in the gym, whether it's on the pitch, whether it's with a team, whether it's in work life or anything like that, always be working towards something. Don't ever feel like that's it, that's the goal, that's be done now. Always be something new, always be working towards something new. And just what you're saying there with the training goals, it's brought that back. I thought it might have been something might have taken benefit from that.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. I think that will definitely resonate with a lot of people, because a lot of the clients that I work with are building up for big things, whether it be an ultra marathon, or let's say even they're just playing their whole season to like hopefully win a championship at the end. And then when it finishes, and I've had this problem like with clients where we're just sitting on a call and just neither of us saying anything, and we're just sitting there for a couple of minutes just to kind of let it sink in, whether they got there or they didn't get there, whatever happened. And you're just sitting there kind of waiting and judging to see what's the plan next now. What do you want to do? And I know it myself, because I got caught in it when I was boxing as well. Whenever a big fight would lose, you're just stuck there. You don't know what's gonna happen next. And there's a big issue with the Olympics and people coming off the Olympics and a post-Olympic depression, in that they've trained for 4 years to get to a certain stage, and then once that's finished, they just don't know what to do with themselves anymore. And I think realigning it and kind of figuring out what your values are a huge thing. What you actually enjoy, why you're doing it in the first place. Well, if you're playing GAA, a lot of the time it's because you're playing for your parish, you're playing for yourself, you have your club there, and you've all your friends, and you're trying to compete. But at the same time, you're competing and you're enjoying competing and you're enjoying training. So it's very easy to, when you look at it that way, that you can just transfer that over to something else. And what I always tell my GAA clients is that once this finishes up, like whatever way it goes, is we're going to look at something else here. We don't just have to stick at GAA all winter. It doesn't have to be just leading one season into the next. What you can look at instead, and I always push them to do, I say, if you're involved in a team sport, this is something that I always push. If you're involved in a team sport throughout the year, there's nothing wrong with doing an individual sport over the winter. You don't just have to fall back into a team sport again, whether that be running, or if it's rock climbing, or if it's surfing, or if it's jiu-jitsu, or whatever it is. I always say, just try out something new for a couple of weeks and a couple of months. What you learn from that individual sport, you could be able to take it back, because I think when you are in a team sport, it's very easy to look around at other people and say, well, that you were the problem. But when you're in an individual sport, there's no one to look at, only yourself. And I always say to the same thing with, let's say, I've a good few clients now who are ultra runners, and I don't understand how they get into that in the first place, running 50 miles, 100 miles. But when your season is up, I say, look to jump into some bit of a team sport for a small while and see how you get on with that. Because a lot of the time they love the races because of the community that's involved, and that's why you enjoy competing as well, as having that community of people, of friends. So I guess what I'm getting at really is just when your season finishes, or whatever way the season is or it goes for you, it is always important to kind of realign to what your values are in the first place. If you're in a team sport, look at something individual for a small while, whether that just be in the gym, if you're just getting into the gym and you're enjoying yourself inside there. But look to kind of change your perspective, because when you come back at it, you're going to be way better. You're going to be in a way different. You're going to be in a better mindset. You're going to be ready to go. But if your one season is running into the next, like with COVID, a lot of seasons have in our own county at home, let's say in Clare, I think they finished up the senior and intermediate, but I know the actual junior final only finished in I don't know, was it June? Did they play the junior final in June? They played the next one then again in August. It's one running into the next. And I know a couple of clubs or a couple of counties have been the same. In Laois as well, I know they did something similar. But you lose interest in that. You're going to lose motivation. It's difficult to do it. So I guess the last thing I'll be asking you, Gary, is working in your preseason. Like, let's say moving from now into preseason, what type of stuff are you looking at yourself? What are you looking at with your clients? Training wise, when are you getting back on the pitch with them? What's that looking like?
So I suppose the main thing is that everyone's training is going to be so different, because everyone is going to have different things they want to work on. So just say you're finished your season now, you're coming into the off season, you're coming into the preseason. what areas you need to work on. Just say, for example, you had a few niggly hamstring injuries during the year. Okay, that's going to be priority. We want to build them hamstrings up to make sure that they don't get injured during the year. Is it strength? Are you getting pushed off the ball and you want to put on a bit of size, bit of strength? That's going to be your priority. So everyone is going to have different priorities in the off season. And the off season, I suppose, kind of off season, pre-season is a very interchangeable word, no matter the way you're working at it. The way I find it as off season is there's no games, no trains, you're finished the year. Pre-season then is kind of maybe, if you're looking at it on the calendar, it might be January time. Like the trains might not just be back yet, but you're gearing up to be ready to be able to run on the pitch. You're gearing up to be, ready for trainings and games. Off season is completely taking the break. That being said, I find, and it's something that I did myself last year as best as I could, try and get at least one conditioning session in. And I call it conditioning session because I don't want to say a running session or a pitch session because it's so hard to get out when it's dark at 5 o'clock. Like you're not going to go out in the evening to go to the pitch, and if it's pissing rain and cold. So that could be a case. You go to the gym, you use the assault bike, the treadmill, the rower, ski erg. There's so many different kinds of conditions or equipment that you can use, cardio equipment, and like that. Like I don't think the 5Ks are as common as they were the last year. That, but if it's a case you enjoy doing 5Ks, okay, off season might be a great time to do them. Okay, the reason I say that they're not the best performances during a game, I've been through before, like you're cutting your turn, accelerating, sprinting, and all this stuff. If you're only doing 5Ks with the main goal to be increasing your performance, only doing 5Ks isn't going to be the best thing for you. Definitely. But if it's the off season and you want to build that endurance, if it's the case your endurance and getting up and down the pitch isn't the best, okay, maybe do some 5Ks in the off season. Might be something that works really well for you. Then when it comes to the pre-season, then the closer we start coming back to games and trainings, that might be a case. Okay, we're getting back on the pitch now. We're doing our sprints, we're doing our turns, we're doing acceleration, deceleration, reversing, going forward, jumps, all that kind of stuff. So the way I'd work it is it's different to everyone. And anyone who works with me, I tailor every plan to them and their goals. It's not a case that's like, right, here's a 5-day week plan. I'll see you next week. It's like, how many days can you fully commit to the gym? And I think people think that's like a loaded or trick question. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to say 6 because he thinks he goes so many days. It's like, no. I want the plans need to be able to fit your schedule, fit your lifestyle. If you can only do 2 days a week in the gym, and you know you're definitely going to do 2 days a week in the gym, we're going to make them 2 gym sessions as best as we possibly can. So it's going to be compound movements. It's going to be very little isolation work, and it's going to be the best bang for our buck. And then if you can just say, I can do an extra session this week, then we put an extra one in. But if it's a case you're saying I could do 4 sessions a week, and I put in the 4 sessions, and there's going to be a mixture of compound work, maybe some isolation work because we have the extra days to work with, and maybe we show some bicep curls and tricep extensions because we have the extra time. And if it's a case then I can only go 2 days a week this week in the gym, you're going to get 2 kind of half sessions because I've been planning for the 4 sessions. But if you say I can only do 2, I'm going to make them 2 as best we can, get as good exercise as we can for that, as opposed to when we're doing 4. The start of it is when we're going to get the main portion of our exercise going to be working towards your goals. Then maybe some fun, quote unquote fun exercises, some stuff like bicep curls, or maybe some hypertrophy work, just because it makes you feel good. It might keep you on track long term. If you're like, okay, he allows me to do arms, it's like fine, I might that's good. I like doing that. So that session wasn't too bad. It's a little bit fun. Or stuff then like you could put in some more conditioning work on a second leg day as opposed to 1 leg day. So the way I work it is everything is planned towards you and your lifestyle. And same with the food and stuff. It's like, it's not a one size fits all food guide or a food plan. I call them food guides. I was like, here's some meals, here's the calories that are in the meals. You can change anything you want on this. It's not a case you have to eat 5 boiled eggs for breakfast and there's no option B. It's like, if you don't like eggs, don't eat the eggs. So I think that a lot of the times as well, especially with CPTs giving meal plans and stuff, it's unless I suppose you're a certified nutritionist or you have that nutrition background, like it's not a case that you have to give a strict meal plan. I think you should be given more options, and there should be a lot of leeway. There's no one food that fits everyone. Like, people have intolerances to stuff, so there has to be a lot of give and take. And I suppose if you're not comfortable having that conversation around food and stuff, maybe it's a case that, okay, I only do exercise plans here. Nutrition is a little bit out of my depth, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, nutrition is a case. I've done a nutrition course recently enough, but I say I have the food guides as opposed to food plans, because I feel that people are going to eat what they want to eat. Or they want to eat what they want to eat. Like, they're going to want to eat stuff they like. There's no point telling them to eat stuff that they're not going to like, they're not going to enjoy, they're not going to stick to long term. Whereas the case, like, okay, here's fruit or here's veg, carbs and proteins and a bit of fat. You can change any of these. If you don't like beef mince, put in turkey mince. If you don't like turkey burgers, put in beef burgers or lamb burgers or pork chops, whatever you want. Put in the food you like, but here's the calories roughly where you want to be. Work, that's going to be different for everyone. So it's not, again, strict calories. That it's like play around with yourself, I say recommend using a TDE calculator, put in your details, your exercise levels, and kind of get a ballpark figure. And like that, it's a ballpark figure. There's nothing that's going to be solely accurate. And so the way I work with my people is, with my clients and athletes, is okay, we'll find out what works best for you. And there's going to be a lot of conversations going back and forth here, and how many days you can go, how many times you can eat in a day and stuff like that. So again, long question short, again, that's why I work with my athletes. So again, main goal, what's the main thing here? Is it put on size, is it put on strength, is it to correct any hamstring injuries or whatever injury is? Coming into pre-season, then you might be looking at bringing in some more cardio. So with my plans then as well, if you come on board, I have a running program. Again, I throw that in. It's something that you can, it's a standalone program as well if you want to buy it. But if you come through a coaching plan, I put it in on top of it as well. So just say you're doing 3 days a week in the gym. It's like, okay, there's 3 more days. If you want to do any of those running sessions, you can go out and do them. It's all laid out, like warm up, blah, blah. I have all the exercise laid out there. And again, it's a program that I've done myself and I find really good. And just, you're saying, like, I have a lot of videos of me, my housemate, kicking ball and doing running sessions with that. Like, it's something that's tried and tested with ourselves. Like, and I think going back to what you're saying, like, there's so much work you can do on your own. Like, you'd be surprised how much stuff you can get done on your own, even on the pitch, skills work, running work. And I really like what you're saying there about doing an individual sport. I think it's sometimes you can go from both sides of it. If you're doing individual sport, it's great to come into a team aspect. But if you're doing a team aspect, it's great to do an individual sport, especially if you're someone. A couple of questions I'm getting from younger people are saying, they go missing or they try and hide towards the end of the game because, you know, it's getting important. It's getting, you know, it's a couple of points in the game and they don't want to get on the ball because they're not confident in their own abilities. It's very easy to hide in a team sport, but if you do something solely on your own, there's no hiding. It's just say you're saying you're doing jiu-jitsu. I used to do jiu-jitsu in college as well. Like, you can't hide when you're 1-on-1 on the mat in some jiu-jitsu. You go hiding, someone's going to choke you out. Like, it's basically it's a survival thing. So you can't go hiding in a 1-on-1 sport. You're saying you did boxing there. It doesn't have to be a combat sport. It could be running, could be going to the gym. And even in case, I know there's a comfort in numbers, as I say, but like in the gym, you might see 4 or 5 young guys around the bench, you know, chatting away and messing with their phones and everything like that. Nothing wrong with that. It's great to see young guys in the gym and everything like that. But maybe try and go on your own for a day or two. Because it's easy kind of say to be messing around, like, and you might be lifting a weight and you know yourself, like, this is way too easy for me, but my friend is struggling with it, so I don't want to make him feel bad. Or a case, you know, I'm struggling myself here, but I don't want to say anything to the lads because I don't want to seem like, oh, you're too weak or anything like that. Go on your own and work on your own. Like, there's nowhere to hide. Then it's like, oh, I don't want to do this set because the lads might make fun of me. But like, if you go on your own, do your work and do the ways that's comfort for you. Again, it's like, I'm no hiding here. And when you get that confidence, like, oh, I'm after doing all of this on my own. No one was in the gym with me. No one was out on the pitch with me. No one was out running with me. No one came to jiu-jitsu with me. I did all this stuff on my own. Is winning those individual battles. And when you look at a team sport, it's all about winning those individual battles. So I'm going to beat my marker, or I'm not going to let that forward score against me, or I'm going to score low balls against him. And if I do my job, and if everyone else wins their individual battles, and obviously it's going to be the team aspect of as well, you have certain roles on the pitch or whatever. But if you're looking at just the broad scheme of things, if everyone wins their own individual battles, at the end of the day, like, you won't be far off winning. And if it's the case, you find yourself, you're going hiding towards the end of the games, and you don't want to get on the ball because you're afraid you might make a mistake. Maybe, as you're saying, doing something individually is definitely something that I think could bring on that self-confidence as well. And if you look back then, where you were this time last year to where you were this time this year, and if you're after putting all this effort in a solo aspect of something, I think that'll definitely bring on your self-confidence and self-belief. And again, if it's a football side of things, if you're out kicking ball, you know, 15-20 minutes a day over the off season, and you're like, right, I'm after scoring 10 out of 10 here, or if you're down the pitch or whatever. When it comes to game time, then, like, I'm going to get on the ball because I know I can score from this position. And it's just like anything, mindset is just doing the reps, telling yourself over and over again you're well able to do this stuff. And that obviously, it comes with the off-season, it comes with pre-season, it comes with that training on your own. And so again, that's what I'm working with athletes. And I suppose it's no point talking about what I'm doing myself because I don't even know yet. I'll be here all day talking about what I'm working at. But that's just the way that I work with my athletes and myself. And I'm slowly just working towards building up my strength, building up my size a little bit, if I can. And coming into pre-season, then I want to keep on top of my endurance, because it's always an area that I struggle with a little bit. I'm only a short arse and 5'9", and I'm 81 kilos, so it takes quite a bit to move me around the pitch. So always working on my conditioning is something that I'm always really trying to do. Sometimes I might ignore it. I might go for I might go for a chest and back day in the gym instead of doing an assault bike workout because I have an extra day. But look, we're always learning, and that's the main thing that I take away. Like even with coaches and that, like I'm not sure if I'm going to talk for myself here, but I'm always learning and learning new workouts, new exercises, new things about myself. Like I'm never satisfied with where I am. I don't mean that in the cliche, oh, don't ever be satisfied. It's like I'm never like I don't feel comfortable. I'd never feel like I'm quote unquote good enough. Like I think it's always areas I can improve on the pitch. Like, okay, this year my weak foot was as good as it could be. Maybe not. My fitness, okay, definitely wasn't as good as it could be. There's an area I need to work on. My passing, how was that? My shooting, how was that? Like there's always ways you can reevaluate your season, okay, and work on those things in the off season. And that's going to look different for everyone. It might be a case for some people, it's the gym that is like, okay, I'm getting pushed off the ball way too easy here. I'm not winning tackles. I'm not breaking through tackles. Okay, then that's going to be power, strength, and putting on size. That's what your stuff is. And then your friend might be something different. That's what I'm saying. Don't go to the gym with people who have different goals than you. If you want to work on something solely, go on your own and work on those things, prioritize those things. Your friend might be okay in that aspect of things, but his shooting might need work, whereas you need to do something else, and his gym plan might look different to yours. So just like don't be feel like you have to go to the gym in a group if you don't want to, or like if it's a case you're uncomfortable doing it, okay, maybe say to your friends, like don't be afraid to say to them, like, oh look, I want to work on this gym today, do you mind? I don't think they really give a shit, like, and if they do, maybe it's something that you should be going to the gym in the first place. But again, that's probably a long-winded answer. I'm probably gone off the topic completely, but I suppose that's just the way that I work with my athletes for the off season into the pre-season, and myself, I do something similar. What's the weak areas? What do I need to work on? Then pre-season, then it's getting back into the swing of things, more plyometrics, more power, more pitch-based stuff, try and get the shooting back in as well, and more skills aspect of stuff as well.
Yeah, excellent. No, that was a great. To be honest, you covered everything there, which is top class. Everything that I would also push with all my athletes as well, in terms of hitting all the right things, making sure that you're changing your perspective a small bit in the off season, and then coming back into the preseason, then ready to go again. And then obviously you're working on your strength, you're working on keeping away injuries and that. But in general, you're doing it to enjoy yourself. And if you're not doing it to enjoy yourself, then you do lose sight of it. And you see that, like, I don't know, Roy Keane had a quote there that he was saying that he never enjoyed playing for United. He never actually enjoyed it. He was always fearful. He was always scared. He was worrying. He called himself a warrior. And that's a warrior, like not a warrior. So he was saying that he did probably lose sight of what he was trying to do, because he just felt that he from his perspective, what he was talking about is I think he was lacking confidence in himself. Like, Jesus, I don't know how someone at that level would, but at the same time, I think reason you're doing it is to enjoy yourself. So if you're not enjoying yourself, it's probably time to change perspective for a small bit and then come back to it again. But Gary, that's I think we've run an hour there, I'd say, at least. But that's absolutely excellent, man. I'm delighted you jumped on. So where can people find you then?
Well, thanks very much for having me on, Robbie. Before I said that, I really appreciate you asking me on. You're doing great stuff yourself, and something I've been following for a while. I know you had to chat on my page as well, so I'm actually delighted I got to do round 2 on your page. So I really appreciate that. It's the best place to get me is on Instagram, Gaz Gaelic Guide, so Gaz_Gaelic_guide. If you want to shoot me a DM there, or if you feel more comfortable on email, it's GazGaelicGuide, all one word, @gmail.com, and they'll be the 2 best places to get me.
Perfect. Yeah, no. We'll go again, I'm sure, at some stage, but that I think that covers everything for today, man. I'm delighted. As always, guys, make sure to go over there, check out Gary, doing some great stuff, especially this time of the year. It's a perfect time to look into it as well, to figure out things that you need to focus on yourself and work on yourself. And if you have any questions, make sure to shoot them to himself or myself, or whatever works best for you. But that's everything for me, guys. Thank you all for listening again this week. And if anyone has any issues or questions, get in contact. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes to get it when they come out every Sunday, and Spotify, and share it on your story on Instagram. Make sure to tag the 2 of us in it if you are. But that's everything from us today, guys. Thanks a million for listening, and I will chat to you all again soon. Have a good one.